Hey, what's up? Let's talk about the new DC event, DCKO issue number 1. Warning, there will be spoilers. If you like the content that I create, make sure to hit that like button. It helps people find my video. So our story starts out where we see Superman basically getting ready for a fight. He's wrapping his knuckles. He seems pretty enthusiastic about it. And he has the energy of like 1,000 suns crackling through his knuckles. It's pretty amazing. And we go from that to we switch back over to we see Bruce, Diana, and Clark actually over at Clark's house playing a game of like superhero Monopoly. Apparently, they get together for game nights. Lois invited them. It was very nice of her. And Clark is having a hard time because Clark hates to play games where he loses. And apparently, Batman gets all the cool gadgets even in this fictional game that they're playing. And we end up seeing where the sky lights up in this glowing red light, and we see Darkseid attack the city. He doesn't just attack Metropolis, he attacks Gotham, Themyscira, Oa, you name it, he attacks it, and the heroes actually all end up losing against Darkseid. After all the big decimation happening with Darkseid, we end up switching over to apparently the present day, where we find out that this is the future that's going to happen to the DC universe if the heroes don't stop it. We find out that the heroes have 7 days until Darkseid basically shows up to wreck shop on the world. And from what we gather is the Time Trapper, Booster Gold, and some other time cronies with like Gorilla Grodd are going to try to gather up as much Omega energy as they can to bestow upon it of the winner of this competition that they're going to be having within the DC universe. I forgot to mention, so that person can fight Darkseid as well. And Clark is basically like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to fight to the death and fight my friends. I am not for this competition we are going to have. And he's not for it. But Bruce and Diana end up convincing him, hey, I think we need to go do this. We're not competing against each other. We're competing against each other to save the world, is what I'm getting at. And so the heroes actually end up coming up with the plan. They end up getting everybody off the Earth. They end up building these big giant spaceships, and they end up actually sending out T-spheres from Mr. Terrific to all of the heroes getting invited to this competition, as well as they end up basically rounding up all the villains to not compete in this competition. So what we get is we see the heroes have to get from point A to point B and get past these big giant Chrono Goliath things. They're pretty massive and pretty scary, just saying. And you'd be really surprised who exactly ends up getting through to be a finalist, I guess, to compete in this tournament. Surprisingly, Batman does not make it out of this first qualifying round because he gets murked by the Joker, apparently, because all the villains end up breaking out of their gel cells, obviously, and they are going to compete in this competition to save the world as well. Because why not let the hero or the villains help out, you know? And so we get the big reveal who is actually going to be competing in this competition, as well as one other specific person. We find out that actually there's a surprise contestant, and we find out that Booster Gold himself is being possessed by Darkseid. Dun dun dun, which is the big reveal of this book. As well as we see the absolute characters. Well, some of them. Alright, so let's talk about the internal artwork for this book. But first, just gotta say, this cover is pretty cool, but don't leave it in your car, especially if you're in a hot, like, if it's hot outside, because I left mine in the car, and my front cover got, like, a little warped and stuff. So, tip to anybody else who wants to collect this, don't get this cover. But I have to say, aside from that, let's show off the creative team for this book. Where is it? Here's your creative team right here for this first issue. The artwork is actually really good. I really like the depiction of Superman in this. I think it's done very well. My favorite part in this book is surprisingly the first scene in the book where we see Clark, Diana, and Bruce playing like this superhero game. Like I love it. It very much humanizes the Trinity. But man, this is an epic feeling book. Like when it gets going, and it starts off with a bang with Darkseid like destroying everyone. It's very well laid out. The colors are amazing. The pencils, beautiful. There are a lot of real talking heads in this first issue, especially in the middle of the book, where we're trying to figure out what exactly we're going to do. But the book does get going when we get to a lot of the more starting of the tournament. Like they're starting to prepare stuff. We have this really awesome scene right here where we see Clark, debating what really he wants to do exactly and how it's going to affect his family and stuff. But yeah, the artwork is really amazing, especially if I can show you when we get to this part where they have to fight these like giant chrono Goliaths. Like it is very well done. And just seeing them like all go at it, it's just beautifully done. Yeah. But yeah, that's the artwork. So all in all, what exactly did I think of DCKO issue number 1? Well, I originally was not going to be picking this up. I wasn't. I broke my rule of collecting comics and I picked up an event book. Which, bad Otaku Mike, just saying. But I have to say, going into this almost completely blind, I feel like. I didn't read the preludes or anything to this. I did have a hard time at first figuring out what exactly was going on and what led up to this, but I do feel like the book did a pretty okay job of like getting me up to speed as sort of a new reader who hasn't been reading Superman or the Justice League. I like the concept for this event. At first, I was like, oh, this kind of feels a little cheesy, to be point blank. I was like, oh, we're having a competition to see who can win and save the universe. But I feel like this is going to go into some very interesting directions, especially for the fact that they basically took Batman off the table, and he's gonna go do his own thing into DCKO, as for like a tie-in side story thing, which I find to be most interesting is the fact you take one of your biggest players off the table. It's pretty ballsy, I feel like. But I'm really interested to see where this is going to go. I really like the fact that we got really, like, for the most part, through the perspective through the eyes of Superman and see how he dealt with this, because it seemed like a very human aspect. Like he didn't want to have to go fight his friends to like save the world. He didn't want to have to compete against them. Like I'm really interested to see like who exactly is going to be like winning the whole kit and caboodle, as one might say. But yeah, I was very surprised that I actually did enjoy this first issue. It does throw some pretty interesting twists and turns within this first issue, and I want to see where it's going to go, because it's tying into several books that I'm reading right now, like Aquaman and Justice League Red, where I was like, dang it, I gotta pick this up now. And even in Batman as well. I think it's tying into Batman as well. I find how DC is like laying this out in a very interesting way to make you go check out different titles to get the entire story for this. You don't have to read all the titles, but I think there are some titles that you're going to need to read that are necessary for this crossover. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts down below for DCKO issue number 2. I'm Otaku Mike. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out, stay safe, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.